1 Samuel 26, David again lets Saul live. Once again, some people from Egypt went to Gibeah to talk with Saul. David has a hideout on Mount Hachilah near Jeshimon out in the desert. They told him Saul took 3,000 of Israel's best soldiers and went to look for David there in Jeep desert. Saul set up, came on Mount Hachilah, which is across the road from Jeshimon, but David was hiding out in the desert. When David heard that Saul was following him, he sent some spies to find out if it was true. Then he sneaked up to Saul's camp. He noticed that Saul and his army commander Abner, the son of Ner, were sleeping in the middle of the camp, with soldiers sleeping all around them. David asked Ahimelech the Hittite, Joab's brother Abishai, "Which one of you will go with me into Saul's camp?" "I will," Abishai answered. The same night, David and Abishai crept into the camp. Saul was sleeping, and his spear was stuck in the ground not far from his head. Abner and the soldiers were sound asleep all around him. Abishai whispered, "This time God has let you get your hands on your enemy. I will pin him to the ground with one thrust of his own spear. Don't kill him." David whispered back, "The Lord will punish anyone who kills his chosen king. As sure as the Lord lives, the Lord will kill Saul, or Saul will die a natural death or be killed in battle. But I pray that the Lord will keep me from harming his chosen king. Let's grab his spear and his water jar and get out of here." David took the spear and the water jar, then left the camp. None of Saul's soldiers knew what had happened or even woke up. The Lord had made all of them fall sound asleep. David and Abishai across the valley and went to the top of the next hill, where they were at a safe distance. "Abner!" David shouted towards Saul's army. "Can you hear me?" Abner shouted back. "Who dares disturb the king?" Abner. "What kind of man are you?" David replied. "Aren't you supposed to be the best soldier in Israel? Then why didn't you protect your king? Anyone who went into your camp could have killed him tonight. You are a complete failure. I swear by the living Lord, then you and your men deserve to die for not protecting the Lord's chosen king. Look and see if you can find the king's spear and the water jar that were near his head." Saul could tell it was David's voice, and he called out, "David, my son, is that you?" "Yes, it is, my majesty. Why are you hunting me down? Have I done something wrong, or have I committed a crime? Please listen to what I have to say. If the Lord has turned you against me, maybe a sacrifice will make him change his mind. But if some people have turned you against me, I hope the Lord will punish them. They have forced me to leave the land that belongs to the Lord and had told me to worship foreign gods. Don't let me die in a land far away from the Lord. I am no more important than a Freya. Why should the king of Israel hunt me down as if I were a bird in the mountains? David, you had the chance to kill me today, but you didn't. I was very wrong about you. It was a terrible mistake for me to try to kill you. I've acted like a fool, but I will never try to harm you again. You're like a son to me, so please come back. Your Majesty, here's your spear. Let one of your soldiers come and get it. The Lord put you in my power today, but you are his chosen king and I wouldn't harm you. The Lord reward the people who are faithful and live right. I spared your life today, and I pray that the Lord will spare my life and keep me safe. David, my son, I pray that the Lord will bless you and make you successful. David in Philistia. Saul went back home. David also left. But he thought it to himself, one of these days, Saul is going to kill me. The only way to escape from him is go to the Philistia. Then I'll be outside of Israel, and Saul will give up trying to catch me. David and his 600 men went across the border to stay in Gath with King Achish, the son of Maoch. His men brought their families with them. David brought his wife Ahinoam, whose hometown was Jezreel, and he also brought his wife Abigail, who had been married to Nabal from Carmel. When Saul found out that David had run off to Gath, he stopped trying to catch him. One day, David was talking with Achish and said, "If you're happy with me, then let me live in one of the towns in the countryside. I'm not important enough to live here with you in the royal city." Achish gave David the town of Ziklag the same day, and Ziklag has belonged to the kings of Judah ever since. David was in Philistia for a year and 4 months. The Geshurite, the Girjite, and Amalekite lived in the area from Teram to Shur and on as far as Egypt, and David often attacked their towns. Whenever David and his men attacked a town, they took the sheep, cattle, donkeys, camels, and the clothing and killed everyone who lived there. After he returned from a raid, David always went to see Achish, who would ask, "Where did you attack today?" David would answer, "Oh, he attacked some desert town that belonged to the Judah tribe." Sometimes David would say, "Oh, we attacked a town in the desert where the Jerahmeel clan lives." Or we attacked a town in the desert where the Canaanite lives. That's why David killed everyone in the towns he attacked. He thought, if I let any of them live, they might come to God and tell what I've really been doing. David made these raids all the time he was in Philistia. But Achish trusted David and thought David's people must be furious with him. From now on, he will have to take orders from me. 28. Saul asked to talk with Samuel's ghost. Samuel had died some time earlier, and people from all over Israel had attended his funeral in his hometown of Ramah. Meanwhile, Saul had been trying to get rid of everyone who spoke with the spirits of the dead. But one day the Palestinians brought their soldiers together to attack Israel. Achish told David, "Of course, you know that you and your men must fight as part of our Palestine army." David answered, "That'll give you a chance to see for yourself just how well we can fight." In that case, Achish said, "You and your men will always be my bodyguards." The Palestinians went to Shunem and set up camp. Saul called the army of Israel together, and they set up their camp in Gilboa. Saul took one look at the Palestine army and started shaking with fear. So he asked the Lord what to do, but the Lord would not answer, either in a dream or by a priest or a prophet. Then Saul told his officers, "Find me a woman who can talk to the spirits of the dead. I'll go to her and find out what's going to happen." His servant told him, "Where's a woman at Endor who can talk to spirits of the dead?" That night, Saul put on different clothing so nobody would recognize him. Then he and two of his men went to the woman and asked, "Will you bring up the ghost of someone for us?" The woman said, "Why are you trying to trick me and get me killed? You know King Saul has killed everyone who talks to the spirit of the dead." Saul replied, "I swear by the living Lord that nothing will happen to you because of this." "Who do you want me to bring up?" she asked. "Bring up the ghost of Samuel," he answered. When the woman saw Samuel, he screamed. Then he turned to Saul and said, "You've tricked me. You're the king. Don't be afraid." Saul replied, "Just tell me what you see." She answered, "I see a spirit rising up out of the ground." "What does it look like?" "It looks like an old man wearing a robe." Saul knew it was Samuel, so he bowed down low. "Why are you burdening me by bringing me up like this?" Samuel asked. "I'm terribly worried," Saul answered. "The Palestinians are about to attack me. God has turned his back on me and won't answer anymore by prophets or by dreams. What should I do?" Samuel said, "If the Lord has turned away from you and is now your enemy, don't ask me what to do. I've already told you the Lord has sworn to take the kingdom from you and give it to David. And that's just what he's doing. When the Lord was angry with the Amalekites, he told you to destroy them, but you didn't do it. That's why the Lord doing this to you. Tomorrow the Lord will let the Palestinians defeat Israel's army. Then you and your sons will join me down here in the world of the dead. At once Saul collapsed and lay stretched out on the floor, terrified at what Samuel had said. He was weak because he had not eaten anything since the day before. The woman came over to Saul, and when she saw that he was completely terrified, she said, "Your Majesty, I listened to you and risked my life to do what you asked. Now please listen to me. Let me get you a little something to eat. I will give you strength for your walk back to camp." "No, I won't eat." But his officers and women kept on urging Saul until he finally agreed. He got up off the floor and sat on the bed. At once the woman killed the calf that he had been fattening up. She cooked part of the meat and baked some thin bread. Then she served the food to Saul and his officers, who ate and left before daylight. Samuel 29. The Palestinians sent David back. The Palestinians had brought their whole army to Aphek, whilst Israel's army was camped near Jezreel Spring. The Palestine rulers and their troops were marching past the Palestine army commanders in groups of 100 and 1,000. When David and his men marched by at the end with Achish, the commander said, "What are these worthless Israelites doing here?" "They are David's men," Achish answered. "David used to be one of Saul's officers, but he left Saul and joined my army a long time ago. I've never had even one complaint about him." The Palestine army commanders were angry and shouted, "Send David back to the town you gave him. We won't have him going into the battle with us. He could turn and fight against us. Saul would take David back as an officer if David brought him the head of our soldiers, the Israelites. Even dance and sing. Saul has killed 1,000 enemies. David has killed 10,000. Achish called David over and said, "I swear by the living Lord that you've been honest with me, and I want you to fight by my side. I don't think you've done anything wrong from the day you joined me until this very moment. But the other Palestine rulers don't want you to come alone. Go on back home and try not to upset them." "But what have I done?" David asked. "Do you know of anything I've ever done what would keep you from fighting the enemies of my king?" Achish said, "I believe that you're as good as an angel of God, but our army commanders have decided that you can't fight in this battle. You and your troop will have to go back to the town I gave you. Get up and leave tomorrow morning as soon as it's light. I'm pleased with you, so don't let any of this bother you." David and his men got up early in the morning and headed back toward Palestine. When Palestine left for Jezreel. Samuel 30. David rescued his soldier's family. It took David and his men 3 days to reach Ziklag, but while they had been away, the Amalekites had been raiding in the desert around there. They had attacked Ziklag, burned it to the ground, and had taken away the women and children. When David and his men came to Ziklag, they saw the burned out ruins and learned that their families had been taken captive. They started crying and kept it up until they were too weak to cry anymore. David's two wives, Ahinoam and Abigail, had been taken captive with everyone else. David was desperate. His soldiers were so upset over what had happened to their sons and daughters that they were thinking about stoning David to death. But he felt the Lord God giving him strength, and he said to the priest, Abiathar, let's ask God what to do. Abiathar brought everything he needed to get answers from God, and he went over to David. Then David asked the Lord, should I go after people who raided our town? Can I catch up with them? Go after them, the Lord answered. You'll catch up with them, and you will rescue your families. David led his 600 men to Besor George, but 200 of them were too tired to go across, so they stayed behind, while David and the other 400 men crossed the George. Some of David's men found an Egyptian out in a field and took him to David. They gave the Egyptian some bread, and he ate it. Then they gave him a drink of water, some dried figs, and 2 handfuls of raisins. This was the first time in 3 days he had tasted food or water. Now he felt much better. Who is your master? David asked. And where do you come from? I'm from Egypt, the young man answered. I'm the servant of the Amalekite. But he left me here 3 days ago because I was sick. We had attacked some towns in the desert where the Chileltites live, in the area that belongs to Judah, and in the desert where the Caleb clan lives. And we burned down Ziklag. Will you take me to those Amalekites? David asked. Yes, I will. If you promise with God as a witness, then you won't kill me or hand me over to my master. He led David to the Amalekites. They were eating and drinking everywhere, celebrating because of what they had taken from Palestine and Judah. David attacked just before sunrise the next day and fought until sunset. 400 Amalekites rode away on camels, but they were the only one who escaped. David rescued his 2 wives and everyone else the Amalekites had taken from Ziklag. No one was missing, young or old, sons or daughters. David brought back everything that had been stolen, including their livestock. David also took the sheep and cattle that the Amalekites had with them, but he kept these separate from the others. Everyone agreed that this would be David's reward. On the way back, David went to the 200 men he had left at Besor George because they had been too tired to keep up with him. they came toward David and the people who were with him. When David was close enough, they greeted the 200 men and asked how they were doing. Some of David's men were good for nothings, and they said, "Those men didn't go with us to the battle, so they don't get any of things we took back from the Amalekites. Let them take their wives and children and go." But David said, "My friend, don't be so greedy with what the Lord has given us. The Lord protected us and gave us victory over the people who attacked, who'd pay attention to you anyway. Soldiers who stay behind to guard the camp get as much as those who go into battle." David made this a law for Israel, and it has been the same ever since. David went back to Ziklag with everything they had taken from the Amalekites. He sent some of these things as gifts to his friends who were the leaders of Judah, and he told them, "We took these things from the Lord's enemies. Please accept them as a gift." This is a list of the towns where David sent gifts: Bethel, Ramoth in the southern desert, Jattir, Aror, Simoth, Ashtamol, Lekau, and towns belonging to the Jerahmeelites and the Canaanites, Harma, Borashan, Atach, and Hebron. He also sent gifts to the other towns where he and his men had traveled. Samuel 31. Saul and his sons died. Meanwhile, the Palestinians were fighting Israel at Mount Gilboa. Israel's soldiers ran from the Palestinians, and many of them were killed. The Palestinians closed in on Saul and his sons, and they killed his sons Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malchishua. The fighting was fierce around Saul, and he was badly wounded by enemy arrows. Saul told the soldier who carried his weapons, "Kill me with your sword. I don't want this worthless Palestine to torture and make fun of me." But the soldier was afraid to kill him. Saul then took out his own sword. He stuck the blade into his stomach and fell on it. When the soldier knew that Saul was dead, he killed himself in the same way. Saul was dead. His 3 sons were dead, and the soldier who carried his weapon was dead. They and all his soldiers died on that same day. The Israelites on the other side of Jezreel Valley and the other side of the Jordan learned that Saul and his sons were dead. They saw that the Israelite army had run away, so they ran away too. The Palestine moved into the towns the Israelites had left behind. The day after the battle, when the Palestinians returned to the battlefield to take the weapon of the dead Israelite soldier, they found Saul and his 3 sons lying dead on Mount Gilboa. The Palestinians cut off Saul's head and pulled off his armor. Then they put his armor in the temple of the goddess heart, and they nailed his body to the city wall of Bethshan. They also sent messengers everywhere in Palestine to spread the good news in the temples of their idols and among their people. The people who lived in Jabesh in Gilead heard what the Palestine had done to Saul's body. So one night, some brave men from Jabesh went to Beth-shan. They took down the bodies of Saul and his sons, then brought them back to Jabesh and burned them. They buried the bones under a small tree in Jabesh, and for 7 days they went without eating to show their sorrow.